We all know Korea for K-pop, kimchi, and neon city nights, but tucked between skyscrapers and volcanic islands are places that feel almost otherworldly. Here you can find a seaside temple perched on cliffs, where monks watch the sunrise over the East Sea, an island made famous by a single tree-lined road, and an island of breath-holding female divers who still plunge without oxygen into icy waters. In this video, I'll show you Korea's surprising tapestry, from ancient palaces and Hanok villages frozen in time to towering glass spires and emerald tea terraces that ripple like green oceans. Is one of the world's rare freshwater river islands, a crescent-shaped sanctuary in the middle of the Han River, renowned for its towering metasequoia and ginkgo avenues. Do you know Namiseom was actually created when the Gyeongbokgung Dam altered the river's flow, isolating this patch of land and giving rise to its distinct microclimate and biodiversity? Walk beneath lanes of coppery ginkgo leaves in autumn, and you'll see why photographers travel from across Asia to capture its light. In winter, the same paths transform into a striking avenue of bare branches dusted with snow, making the island feel suspended in time. Spring spills cherry blossoms and azaleas that carpet the ground, while summer floods the banks with emerald foliage and dragonflies skimming the water. Taste plays a role too, with chestnut vendors and regional specialties offering flavors tied to the island's harvest eagles. These simple meals, eaten beside the river, make the landscape feel lived in, rather than merely seen. By dusk, lanterns and soft lighting along the promenades turn Namiseom into a place where memories seem to collect as readily as leaves. The island's compact scale lets you move from intimate shade to panoramic river views in minutes, creating a series of small revelations. Visit at dawn for mist drifting across the water, and you'll understand why many Koreans consider this a refuge from the city's clamor. From those quiet moments, it becomes clear that Namiseom's real wonder is how a man-made change birthed an island that now feels older than the river itself. Seoraksan National Park preserves one of the planet's most extraordinary mountain coastlines, where jagged granite towers plunge toward the Sea of Japan and support isolated Arctic alpine plant communities. Do you know Seoraksan's Ulsanbawi rock, six needle-like peaks carved by glaciers, has been venerated for centuries and shelters plant species normally found much farther north? Ancient rhododendrons, Korean firs and dwarf pines cling to steep cliffs, coloring the park each spring and autumn in impossible shades. Trails wind from misty lowland forests up to high ridgelines, passing secret temples and waterfalls that feed river systems vital to the region. The Inwangsan temple sits like a guardian among boulders, its bronze Buddha a silent witness to pilgrims who have made this pilgrimage for over 1,000 years. Nearby Biryong Falls and Yukdam pools create mirror surfaces that reflect sheer peaks, making the mountains seem doubled, as if the ski has its own geology. Hikers who climb to Gamcheon Fortress are rewarded with a view where sea, valley, and summit converge, a rare coastal mountain panorama. From its highest ridges, the landscape falls away toward coastal wetlands that eventually lead travelers to the next natural wonder along the eastern shore. Guides will tell you to watch for tiny alpine flowers tucked between granite slabs, each one a botanical survivor of long cold winters. The park's network of mountain huts and marked routes invites slow travel, encouraging visitors to read the mountain's many small signs. Conservation scientists come here to study climate change fingerprints because Seoraksan's shifting tree lines are an early warning system for the peninsula. As you descend from its peaks, the memory of Seoraksan stretches eastward toward coastal cliffs that frame the next chapter of Korea's wild coastline. Gyeongbokgung sits on a rocky promontory outside Busan, one of Korea's few temples built by the sea. Founded in 1376 by the Zen master Namiseom, its shrines look out over endless waves as if suspended between sky and ocean. The temple's name, which translates roughly as Dragon Palace Temple, hints at an origin story tied to sea spirits and blessings for fishermen. Stone stairways descend past guardian statues and tiny shrines, guiding pilgrims toward a lacquered main hall, perched above the surf. At dawn, columns of visitors climb those steps for the famous sunrise, when sunlight ignites the sea and paints the temple gold. Wind and spray have carved the surrounding rocks into dramatic forms, and bronze bells and carved pillars creak softly in the salt air. A line of stone statues stands sentinel along the shore, their worn faces reminding visitors of generations who came to pray here. Children chase gulls along the promontory, while monks quietly perform morning rites, their saffron robes bright against the gray sea. Carved dragons curl above doorways, their expressions both fierce and strangely playful, a reminder that myth and daily life overlap here. Visitors leave with sand on their shoes and a peculiar hush in their voices, as if the temple's sea-born presence mutates even casual speech. Haeundae is more than a photo stop. It's a place that asks you to slow down and listen to tides measured not in hours, but in devotion. As sunlight slides along the waves and shadows lengthen, the temple seems to fold its story back into the ocean itself. Carrying that silence with us, we move onward to the nearby coastal neighborhoods, where the city's energy reasserts itself and new stories begin. From those ancient, cool caverns to Seoul's glass spire, the Lotte World Tower punctures the skyline as Korea's tallest building. At 555 meters, its form reshaped the city's horizon, and its facade reflects a nation balancing deep geological history with high-tech ambition. Step inside and the tower unfolds vertical neighborhoods, observation decks, a luxury hotel, offices and cultural spaces stacked like chapters of a living book. Elevators rocket visitors to the summit in under a minute, transforming the ascent into a cinematic reveal of the Han River and distant ranges. Engineers tuned the tower to sway gently in wind and to absorb seismic shocks, a precise choreography of steel, concrete, and dampers. Its glass skin, 71 stories of mirrored panes, captures dawn's warmth and neon night, making the tower a changing portrait of Seoul. On the public floors, observation decks peel back the city in layers, from tiled Hanok alleys to the glittering arteries of modern boulevards. At night, the tower becomes a beacon. Programmable lights stage narratives that connect Korea's festival rhythms to contemporary spectacle. From Jeju's subterranean patience to the Lotte World Tower's vertical ambition, Korea compresses its extremes into short distances you can feel. In the next moments, we'll ascend its elevators, uncover the engineering secrets that keep it standing, and find the hidden corners inside that feel like caves above the city. Prepare to see why this 555-meter needle is less a monument to height than a lens on Korea's paradoxes. Ancient earth and modern skiway, intimate streets and global reach. On a granite ridge above Seoul, Bukchon Hanok village is framed by pine-covered hills and harbors, one of the world's most concentrated collections of traditional Hanok houses. Do you know Bukchon Hanok village contains more than 900 Hanoks, some still lived in by families who trace their roots back to the Joseon court. Walk its narrow alleys, and you pass low, elegant roofs where clay tiles curve like old smiles, and wooden beams worn by generations seem to remember voices. The village is not a museum, but a living neighborhood where morning light spills into courtyards and laundry flutters beside centuries-old gates. Behind every tiled roof there are stories, calligraphers, tea masters, and ceramicists who keep vanished crafts alive in tiny studios. Every roof tile and courtyard stone carries signs of adaptation. A new foundation here, a repaired lintel there, showing how tradition survives through small, persistent choices, he says. Here, the past isn't sealed under glass. It's braided into the rhythms of life, and each doorway offers a subtle invitation to imagine Seoul, centuries ago. As you leave Bukchon, winding down toward the Gyeongbokgung stream, or climb toward the palace, you'll carry whispers of timber and tiled silhouettes that linger long after the walk ends. And once you know the quiet geometry of its alleys, nearby neighborhoods like Samcheongdong and Insadong will reveal their own chapters in the same continuing story. Haeundae Beach in Busan is bathed by the Tsushima Current, making it one of the warmest urban beaches at this latitude and creating a microclimate rare for its northerly position. Do you know Haeundae Beach shelters Gyeongbokgung, a camellia-clad promontory whose evergreen trees bloom long after winter retreats? Its crescent of soft, pale sand stretches for roughly 1.5 kilometers, framed by a skyline of glass towers, seafood stalls, and quiet morning joggers. At dawn, thousands gather for the New Year's sunrise, and in summer, the Busan Sea Festival transforms the shore into a stage for sand sculptures and lantern-lit processions. A short walk from the sands leads to Gyeongbokgung, where the Nurimaru Apec House perches like a modern shell, overlooking the meeting of city and sea. From those cliffs, trails spiral into pine-scented lookouts with sightlines toward Marine City's towers and the sweeping arc of Gwangan Bridge across the bay. Beneath the surface, warm currents bring rich plankton and schools of fish close to shore, hints of the living ocean that the nearby Busan Aquarium puts on display. As daylight fades, Haeundae's promenade hums with night markets, pop-up galleries, and seafood grills that extend the city's social rhythm toward Gwangali. Gwangali's illuminated bridge becomes an evening ribbon, linking beaches and neighborhoods, a neon continuation of Haeundae's energy. Early mornings belong to surf schools, paddle boarders, and kite surfers, while yachts and fishing boats drift outward toward the jagged Oryukdo islets. From Haeundae, you can island hop to Oryukdo or follow the coastline to Taejongdae, tracing Busan's edge like a continuous story of sea and rock. Local fishermen still point out hidden inlets where old villages once traded salted fish for silks, echoes that survive in place names and late-night tales. Those stories live on in the seafood stalls and refined restaurants, lining the beach, where recipes fold sea, city, and season into every plate. To truly know Haeundae, you must walk from sand into headland, from boardwalk into alleys where history and modernity collide. Stay with us as we follow that path from Haeundae's sunlit shore to the secret coves and rooftop tea houses that reveal Busan's quieter soul. Jeju Island in South Korea harbors one of the world's longest lava tube networks, Manjangul, formed by ancient flowing lava beneath basalt slopes. Do you know Seoraksan Gyeongbokkung's dramatic tuff cone rises like a sleeping crown, its crater creating a fragile microhabitat found nowhere else on the peninsula? Walk its rim at dawn, and you'll meet a landscape where black volcanic rock, emerald fields, and sapphire sea stitch together in impossible harmony. Below, the Manjangul Cave tunnels through molten history, where iced lava formations and rare cave-dwelling species whisper of epochs long gone. From the peak of Hallasan, Korea's tallest mountain, clouds roll like a living ocean over rhyolite slopes and alpine pine wildflowers that survive at an island's summit. The mountain's streams feed waterfalls like Gyeongbokgung and Gyeongbokgung, each drop falling into pools rimmed with basalt columns and stories of fishermen and gods. On the coast, the hexagonal cliffs of Jusangjoli read like giant basalt piano keys, a frozen song of collapsing lava meeting cold sea. Near them, Seopjikoji's windswept promontory frames fields of canola and the solitary silhouette of lighthouse ruins that became backdrop for generations of lovers and legends. Jeju's shoreline is watched over by the stone guardians called Dol Haryubang, their weathered faces carved from volcanic rock centuries ago as protectors of villages. Diving deeper into culture, the haenyeo, female freedivers, still harvest sea treasures without modern gear, their breath-hold skills passed down through matrilineal lines. Taste the island in a bowl of hyukdweji black pork, or sip makgeolli, fermented with local barley, and you will feel how geology flavors cuisine. Every village lane seems to lead from one wonder to another, where citrus groves slope toward lava tubes and tea fields meet volcanic plateaus. At dusk, Seongsan's sunrise peak and the silhouette of Udo Island fuse into a tableau that seems both eternal and fragile, begging the question of how these formations endured human hands. Jeju is not just a place to see but a puzzle of geology, ecology, and human resilience that will unravel together, one hidden layer at a time. Now turn inland and step through Gwanghwamun Gate into Gyeongbokgung Palace, the 14th century heart of the Joseon dynasty, where kings once issued edicts that shaped modern Korea. Gyeongbokgung, literally palace greatly blessed by heaven, sits framed by the protective rise of Bukchon and the modern skyline, a meeting of royal geometry and urban pulse. Walk across the stone causeway and the first view is Gyeongbokgung, the throne hall where coronations, state ceremonies, and audience sessions unfolded beneath lacquered beams and painted eaves. Every carving, every chrysanthemum motif encodes Confucian order, reminders of how palace architecture ordered society itself. Between halls, tranquil ponds mirror the palace pavilions and lead your eye toward the secret garden beyond, a wooded retreat of secluded pavilions and winding paths. That garden later links directly to Bukchon Hanok village, where narrow lanes and traditional tiled roofs echo the whispers of palace courtiers just a few blocks away. At dawn, guards in crimson and azure reenact the changing of the royal guard at Gyeongbokgung, a ritual that stitches living memory to stone. From there, a short walk over the restored Cheonggaecheon stream carries you toward Insadong's antique shops, connecting imperial ritual to the crafts that preserved Korea's past. The palace's layered restorations, interrupted by fire and colonial disassembly, reveal hidden histories, timbers reused in unexpected places and foundations that mask older palace footprints. Archaeologists peeling back layers have found ceramic shards, royal seals, and even fragments of painted tiles that rewrote timelines of construction and loss. Namsan's Seoul Tower perches above the city on a mountain that shelters one of the world's rare urban relic pine forests, a living island of biodiversity amid skyscrapers. Do you know, Namsan Seoul Tower was once a wartime radio mast before becoming Seoul's most intimate viewpoint and a public skyward observatory. By night, its LED crown transforms into a living map of Seoul's moods, changing colors with festivals and temperature. Visitors cling padlocks and messages to the fence below, turning private promises into a sprawling social ritual that links strangers across generations. From the tower's observation deck, you can trace the Han River's silver ribbon and spot the tiled roofs of Bukchon Hanok village, cradled between modern glass. That panoramic vista folds the city's layered past into a single sweep, connecting Namsan to palaces, markets, and the neon arteries of Myeongdong. Hidden beneath the tourist trimmings are lesser-known pathways where camellia and azalea bloom in spring, offering a near-silent escape in the heart of Seoul. Local elders still recall that Namsan's stone steps were once pilgrimage routes for scholars and seasonal festivals, preserving rituals now rarely seen. Stand beneath it, and you feel the city's scale tilt. The tower anchors memory, while the mountain keeps a surprisingly wild heartbeat. That heartbeat is a reminder that even the most modern skylines are stitched to older landscapes, and that one climb can turn sightseeing into a map of belonging. Next, we'll follow that map down the trails toward the hidden temples and street food alleys that Namsan silently watches over. Because the real story of Seoul doesn't end at the summit. It begins where viewpoints meet daily life. Inwangsan Mountain is one of the few urban peaks in the world where exposed granite towers rise sheer above a capital's skyline. Do you know Inwangsan's jagged rock faces and ancient shamanic shrines were believed to guard Seoul from malevolent spirits for centuries? From its summit, you can trace the snake-like curve of Seoul's fortress wall, linking Inwangsan to Bukchon and Namsan. Hikers find themselves crossing time as much as terrain, following stones laid in Joseon times toward modern glass towers. Hidden among the cliffs are faded ink inscriptions by scholars and soldiers who once used the mountain as a watchpost. These calligraphic scars tell stories of drought, invasion, and pageantry that most visitors never notice beneath the panoramic views. At dawn, Inwangsan turns cinematic, the Han River catching light, while Bukchon Hanok roofs appear like an antique model village. Yet by midday, the city presses in, and the mountain yields surprising biodiversity, rare mosses and alpine plants clinging to wind-polished granite. Local guides will point out a moon-shaped boulder and a narrow cleft where shamans once left offerings to ensure harvests and safety. In winter, frost etches the granite into lace, and you can follow the fortress wall downhill, arriving within walking distance of Gyeongbokgung Palace. The path links cultural districts, the quiet of Seoraksan, the craft shops of Gamcheon, and the cosmopolitan bustle of Gyeongno, seamlessly. Each turn feels like a passage through Seoul's layered history, from sacred rock to royal gate to contemporary cafe culture. Nightfall brings another transformation as lantern-lit alleys below echo with the mountain's silhouette, an ancient guardian watching modern life. Photographers chase long exposures here, but the real reward is the sudden sense that the city's pulse and the mountain's silence coexist. A short detour along the wall will take you toward Haeundae, and then onward, connecting the mountain's story to Seoul's grand avenues. Inwangsan is not merely a viewpoint, it's a connective tissue, binding natural formation, spiritual practice, and urban memory into one compact ridge. Boseong's sweeping tea terraces ripple like emerald waves across the coastal hills, creating one of the most photographed agricultural landscapes in Korea. Do you know? Boseong green tea fields are the largest and most historic tea plantations in South Korea, where centuries-old cultivation techniques still shape the land. Each row of tea bushes follows the contour of the slope, producing a rhythmic pattern that changes color with the seasons from deep jade to pale spring green. Farmers here harvest the young, silvery tips by hand for the delicate matcha and seomchai teas that Korea quietly perfected. Early morning fog slips through the valleys, concentrating the tea's aroma and giving the fields a surreal floating appearance that draws photographers and whites alike. You can trace the industry's history in nearby tea museums and tasting rooms that reveal how tea influenced local life, festivals, and even clothing dyes. Walkways wind through the terraces so visitors can stand inches from the plants and learn to pick leaves with the same gentle motion passed down by grandmothers. The sight of workers in broad-brimmed hats bending over the bushes is timeless, a living link between agriculture and artistry. In this way, Boseong doesn't sit alone on the map. It threads into a landscape where agriculture, ecology, and culture flow from one place to the next. Tasting a cup here is more than flavor. It is a condensed history of place, soil, and weather folded into a single green sip. And as you leave the terraces, you carry with you not just photographs, but a quiet, persistent memory of how human hands shaped every curve. The next segment will trace that memory across the wetlands and into the city markets where tea meets seafood, spices, and stories. Follow the trail from leaf to table as we move from Boseong's hills toward the tidal realms that sustain the region's food and folklore. What seems like a simple cup of green tea opens into an entire map of trade routes, seasonal rituals, and unexpected flavors. Stay with us, and you'll see how a single leaf can connect villages, bays, and centuries of tradition. Clinging to Busan's steep coastline, Gamcheon Culture Village forms one of the world's rare terraced mosaics, where brightly painted houses cascade down a labyrinth of narrow alleyways. Do you know Gamcheon Culture Village began as a refuge for Korean War survivors and was later transformed into an open-air art gallery in a grassroots revival that turned hardship into vibrant public art? Wandering here feels like stepping into a living patchwork quilt, where murals, sculptures, and unexpected stairways appear around every corner. Local residents became the curators, painting roofs, installing sculptures, and opening tiny studios that pulse with personal stories and stubborn community pride. The village's geometry is as unique as its history. Each house is stacked like steps, creating private courtyards and sudden viewpoints that look out over Busan's glittering harbor. Because the lanes were never designed for cars, visitors move at the villagers' pace, discovering hidden galleries, cozy tea houses, and rooftop viewpoints that reveal both the human tapestry below and the sea beyond. Look closely, and you'll find playful installations made from discarded objects, children's drawings pinned to walls, and faded signage that hints at decades of daily life. As you leave its winding lanes, the village hands you back to the city's broader story, a coastal metropolis that layers tradition, art, and commerce in unexpected ways. Next, we'll descend toward jagged piers and steaming fish stalls, carrying with us the voices and colors of Gamcheon as we slip into Busan's working harbor. Before we go, notice how evening transforms Gamcheon. Lamplight softens the colors, and alleys hum with the sound of people sharing stories over coffee. Evening artists sometimes set up impromptu performances, turning courtyards into stages where local music and dance reframe the village's past into living culture. Hidden workshops produce handcrafted souvenirs, ceramic cups, painted fans, and tiny models that carry the village's motifs beyond these hills. Buying one of these objects supports families who have kept the community alive and connects your visit to a chain of livelihoods sustained by creativity. And there is one more secret. From certain rooftop edges, you can trace a corridor of light that aligns with Busan's mountain ridges, framing sunsets that seem choreographed for the village. Carry that image with you as we walk down toward Busan's market districts, where the colors of Gamcheon blend into the flavors and sounds of the city's coastal life. From volcanic cliffs that frame Jeju's shoreline to the granite spires of Seoraksan, Korea folds dramatic landscapes into a compact island and peninsula. You might be surprised that the same land that shelters neon-lit Seoul also preserves millennia-old royal tombs in Gyeongju. Walk the ancient paths between temple stones on Jerusalem, and you'll trace routes used by monks and rebels alike. Cross from Busan's busy port to the tranquil Boseong tea terraces, and you'll feel the shift from commerce to cultivation in a single hour. The DMZ, more barren than war maps suggest, has become an unintended sanctuary for rare species and fragile ecosystems. Under its silence lies a story about division, resilience, and the deep human wish to reconnect. Seoul's Hanok neighborhoods hold whispers of Confucian scholars, while nearby skyscrapers push toward tomorrow. That tension between tradition and innovation is what gives Korea its electric rhythm. On Jeju, lava tubes and a hidden freshwater spring reveal a geological history few islands can claim. That same island's women divers, the haenyeo, still harvest from the sea without modern aids, guarding a cultural practice on the edge of survival. From palace courtyards to street food alleys, Korea stitches past and present into every bite, every festival, every skyline. If you leave thinking you knew Korea, you'll find that the country's smallest valleys and highest peaks keep secrets that call you back. So as our journey closes, remember that these places, Seoraksan, Jirisan, Jeju, Gyeongju, Busan, Boseong, the DMZ, and Seoul, are threads of the same living tapestry. There is always one more hidden grotto, one more market stall, one more elder with a story that reshapes the map of what you thought you understood.